Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're here today for this postscript, this little reflection on the previous Sunday's service, which was, of course, our first Sunday in Lent. And during my sermon, I reflected a bit on the, let us call it the myth of paradise that exists in certain readings of the Genesis text. I spoke of the two creation stories, both of which present a version of life, of the world, perhaps, as it should be. And yet I pointed out that even in these pre-lapsarian, pre-fall narratives, as it's been presented to many of us down through our lives, there is a fly in the ointment, let us say. There is a serpent, a tempter. Something is afoot, something is awry at the beginning. The serpent didn't come, or at least we weren't told, of the serpent coming from somewhere else, right? There's nowhere in Genesis where it says the serpent came from the Tehom, the depths. No, the serpent was one of the creatures of the garden. And we're even told etymologically you can connect the description of the serpent with both wisdom and beauty. So the serpent is there, a beautiful creature in this garden, and yet seems to be a little bit mischievous, not unlike Coyote in some of the indigenous narratives that some of us have heard and shared. And I think there's a trickster probably in countless numbers of mythologies around the world. Well, we have our trickster here in the serpent. And I think it's important for us to point that out because it really challenges this idea of an original completeness, of an original perfection, of an original paradise or utopia. And so in my sermon, I talked about how dangerous the idea is that there was an original perfect time and that somebody somewhere messed up and we're paying the consequences. And that if we could just do A, B, C, we could get back to that perfect time. That is the nostalgic version of Eden or of this creation narrative. I also suggested that there are more liberal and or progressive versions of this narrative, which is to say, well, even if it wasn't perfect to begin with, we're going to make it perfect. We're going to build the perfect society and it will be whole and complete. Nobody will have to worry about anything. In fact, one could argue that we're kind of invited to do that in certain passages, right? And certainly in our hymnody, we sing of a time and a land where there will be no more tears and no weeping and everybody's going to be happy. But the reason I think it's important to challenge some of those conventional depictions is that when a person is convinced that there is a path, there is a secret way. Maybe this secret is the right job. Maybe it's the right person with whom to be in relationship. Maybe it's the right community, the right bank account, the right anything. But when a person is convinced that there is a right thing that will help us to get back to, I don't think you're going to be able to stop that person, right, from doing whatever it takes to obtain that object, to pursue that thing, that elusive thing that'll get us to paradise, that'll bring us back to Eden or help to create and foster the Eden to come. So what does that mean for us who are willing to challenge some of those depictions and can appreciate the dangers inherent in utopian thinking like that? Well, I talked on Sunday about our constitutive incompleteness. We are desiring beings, right? We are restless with desire. Augustine says as much. Our hearts do not rest until they rest in Thee, O God. Now, what it means for our hearts to rest in God, I think is a matter of interpretation. But I do want to suggest that by coming together and embracing each person in our community as we are, where we are, however we show up, that goes a long way to lessening the energy or motivation to obtain the proper object, right? If we can tell people that you're fine as you are, you don't have to do something different, you don't have to get to this place and then we'll accept you, right? You don't have to meet this condition, you don't have to check this box. By providing a kind of extravagant welcome or an unconditional welcome, we are saying that who you are as a desiring being that occasionally moves this way and that way and sometimes stumbles into situations we would rather not be in, that you are okay and that you are loved, and that together we are going to do our best faithfully and prayerfully to have a positive impact in the world, to live compassionately and humbly, and not get caught up in this frenetic pursuit of certainty and satisfaction, wholeness and completeness that drives a lot of operations and governments and communities around the world. And it drives them to do great harm to others, because those others might very well stand in the way of them obtaining that object, whatever that object is. So I hope you were able to take something from that reflection. And if you didn't, I hope you were able to take something from today's mention of it, because I think it would do us well to spend some time during this season of Lent where we are invited to relate to time a bit differently. We're invited to step out of clock time and the frenetic pursuit of schedules and bank accounts and job promotions and all of that. Lent invites us to step into a different relationship to time, where maybe we are able to sit with that incompleteness, that desire that seems to have a mind of its own. We can just sit there with it and not let it drive us into pursuits that are not going to serve us or the world. So thank you for taking a bit of your time today and sitting with me. I look forward to seeing you this coming Sunday and of course next week for the next postscript.